What's going on, guys? Whitehorse here. Going to be giving you guys a deck profile today of Mr. Charles, aka Cena. He is going to be showcasing what deck he played today. Real quick, boss man, tell us what you played and what you placed.
So what I played was Chimera Fiendsmith with a little bit of secret spice, secret tech that no one really ever saw coming. And what I placed, didn't have my invite, decided to do regional flights for next year. And I won after playing in my matchups round 1 Tempai, round 2 Branded Despia, Puppet Lock was not a thing. Round 3 was Salad, and round 4 was Tempai.
Nice. And we are here at the World Championship Qualifier here in Austin, Texas. And what was the event that you played in? What was it?
It was the regional qualifier.
Flight? Okay, and so you already secured your invite for next year.
Absolutely, depending on where it is. Looking forward to going again next year.
Nice. All right, boss man, before we get into the deck profile, is there any shout outs you want to do?
I want to shout out to my team as well as all my boys from back home at the locals, everyone who helped me play test, Ashton, Jeremiah, Michael, Shine, pretty much everyone.
Whole squad, there we go.
Absolutely, nothing but squad goals here.
All right, just go ahead and show us what you piloted.
So with the Fiendsmiths primarily, it was the standard 3 Fiendsmith engraver. This just, you search the tract and then you just go off from there. Now the Chimera line or the Illusion line, 3 Nightmare Apprentice. You saw some builds always trying to run 2, but I could always side one out if I was going second.
Yeah, okay.
The best searcher in a deck besides Nightmare Apprentice, you pitch Codal, get Gazelle, depending on your hand, normal summon Gazelle, and you go off from there. Not to mention the graveyard protection as far as targeting is just, it's so underrated.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Best normal summon in the game.
Yep.
Gazelle, so he obviously makes the engine work, search Chimera Fusion, and you just go off from there depending on what the board you're looking at and what you need for your combos. And then I've got Mirror Sword Knight, so he's the other protection, specifically a monster negation for their effects on field. You never really normal summon him to try and do it anymore because Ash is just too prevalent right now.
Yeah.
Now, I decided to still run the Patchwork engine. I went with 2 chains specifically because of the fact that this, with the Fiends, it can help you get your Guardian Chimera safe, and also with it being a Fiend and getting you polymerization, it just helps you in the grind game.
Yeah.
I went with 2 Big Wing Baphomet. Some people only choose to do 1, but you burn through the Baphomets very quickly.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, I went with the one girl who is one of the biggest headaches for so many players this weekend.
Yeah. This card is crazy if it gets on the board.
Absolutely. And the way I run the deck, combo-wise, she will always get on the board, and you better have a Bestial ready.
Yeah, you don't want her to get out.
And just one thing for anyone who's running her, the community is convinced that they can outthink you when they have multiple spells and traps in their hand. They're going to set one thinking you're just going to be greedy and immediately go for it. The first card they set to try and bluff you out is always a bluff. Never fall for it unless you know for sure they've only got 1.
Yeah.
Then Master Tau. This card was the most surprising assistance as far as in all my matches, because no one really ever saw this card coming. No one understood it can bring back an illusion from the graveyard. The Fabled Lori. So this card,
pretty much here for the Fiendsmith.
Absolutely. I went with the common because it draws so much better than the DT and the super. Don't listen to anyone else. This card could not stop being in my opening hand every time. And with Nightmare Apprentice, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And then I decided to run.
Oh, we got some spice.
Absolutely. So in the event that the Lori does not want to come out to play, I will always go into Beatrice, and if I can't get the Barrier Statue or the Diabell line up and running, I'll go into my Fiendsmith engine by dumping this, banish on resolution, and then special summon the one man, that one evil hero who is not fool's gold, a dusted gold.
Yeah.
And then link off for Requiem and just go off from there.
Nice.
So, my other toxic win con.
Yeah.
Now, this card.
Rip Snake Eyes.
Absolutely. So, I got cussed out.
Yeah.
Now, this card, you have to do it correctly because you don't want to try and commit to the barrier statue Abyss line unless you have the Chimera that hand rips already out on the board. But still, this card, it could just be used for bestial bait.
Yeah.
And that worked quite a few times for me as well. Now, for the Secret Spice.
The Nemesis package, okay.
Absolutely, because this deck underwent some significant changes from Friday compared to yesterday. It used to be Melodious Chimera Horus. I called it MC Hammer, but then I changed it to Chimera Fiendsmith with the Dragon Daddy Colossus package. So this basically, I couldn't search these, but I was okay with that because if I wound up with either one in my hand, the Evil Hero Necroma package would ensure I could get one of these two out. And once that happened, then I went with Colossus, and it was all she wrote from there.
Yeah.
Now, Protoss.
Yep, there he is.
Unfortunately, as much as Ultras tend to break towards the top, he never got played once.
Wow.
As much as I loved, he still was a threat that I was more than ready to capitalize on.
Yeah. Call Dark, man, and they can't.
Absolutely.
Can't do nothing.
And speaking of Dark, so the Bestials with...
This is good for the Fiendsmith, like opposing Fiendsmith players.
And that's if that's not an understatement of the highest order, I don't know what is. Because this literally came up in my round 2 against Branded.
Mm-hmm. That's good against Branded too.
He messed up the combo. He had the Gimmick Puppet in the grave, but he didn't have Sanctifier on his turn. But he would have with Branded Red on my turn. So I said, you know what? Let's just shotgun it. He, end phase, Mercurier, he used it and it's dead in my hand, draw phase. I'll do it again.
Yeah.
And it wound up just working out perfectly. Absolutely love the decision to have these in the deck.
That's what's up.
Now, on to the spells. The best card in the deck, in my opinion. This has single-handedly helped me overcome Valor, Imperm.
Yeah, it's like the #1 dodge.
Absolutely. And then my opponent just stares at me with just this look of disgust on their face.
Yeah. Like, I can't believe that happened.
Most heartbreaking moment for me with this card was when I faced, this guy in my round four opponent for the regional qualifier. He just had all of my 3 Chimera Fusions banned because of Shifter, and at that point I was in a bad spot. So to not have these was just heartbreaking, but they always came in clutch when I needed them.
Yep.
Now, I decided to go with essentially either Ash Bait or Board Breaker Bait. Now, the Triple Tactics talent came up so many times as far as players just foolishly interacting on my turn to the point to where I'd either steal their cards and link off with them, or I just use it to go for gain.
Yeah.
Hey, you live by the talents, you die by the talents.
Yep. Crazy card.
Now, the other half of the Patchwork engine, I decided to go with a 2-2 line. So 2 chain, 2 patchwork, 2 polymerization. Yesterday I was only running 1, and I found myself missing the second one significantly because as soon as I drew 1, the rest of the Patchwork engine was dead in my deck and hand. It wound up paying off very much so.
Yeah. You want to try to use it at least one more time,
Absolutely, not to mention with 2 polymerizations for Chimera and Rinbrum, it was just godsend. And then the 1 track. So I took a little bit of inspiration from Voiceless Voice with Branded, 3 Branded Fusion, and 1 Fallen Balbaz, 3 Engraver, 1 tracked. Never felt the need for a second one because with the Evil Hero engine and Lori with Nightmare Apprentice, the Fiendsmith engine was happening one way or the other.
Yeah. And what's the main deck count?
With the newly added polymerization, I'm at 41.
41? All right. What's the extra deck look like?
So the extra deck, starting with the Chimera line specifically, it was one Chimera King of the Phantom Beasts. One is all you would need.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward.
The hand rip is especially, it's good, but it's not something you should overcommit to.
Mm-hmm.
And then the effect, well, I'll talk about this after I show the rest. 2 Baphomet.
Mm-hmm.
This is standard. I disagree with anyone who tries to cut this down to 1. Not the level 8, but 2 of this. Anyone who tries to cut this down to 1, I disagree with absolutely. Because with Shifter in particular, or with any banish with the Bestials, this in the grave could still allow me to not only stay alive, but even get resources for the crackback.
Yeah.
And then the level 8 OTK. So I never used him in my regional qualifier, but it's the fact that he's there as an option that most people disrespect and just completely forget about.
Yeah.
Him with 2 materials and 1 body on board is enough to kill someone for over 8,000. Now, specifically what the barrier statue line was, if I had both of these 2 in the grave, I would go chain link 1, barrier statue, target. Okay, they say that's fine. Chain link 2, I would go Baphomet, target this that was banished for cost, and special summon this. So I would have Kodal and Mirror Sword Knight live.
Yeah.
It always worked out. Now, the other fusions I had were Renbrum, which for a lot of people didn't see this coming. He is a light fiend for the Fiendsmith engine.
Yeah.
So he helps recur with your polymerization and your Chimera fusions to get draw power. You can even use them for the linking off with the Fiendsmith engine. You can do just so much. And then my favorite was Guardian Chimera. Now, he goes without saying, strongest fusion monster in the extra deck. So many times I would just be going Gazelle, Edge Imp Chain, a 3rd body, Guardian Chimera. I'd have 3 chain link minimum.
That card is so good.
And then what I like to call the Fiendsmith fusions. So Lacrima, it helps burn for time. If you do it correctly, starting off with Engraver, you can end with a 3 material Appaloosa. Necroquip has made to where Fiendsmith Tract is a 1-card starter.
Yeah.
And I've even done it to where I take the Engraver and Fiendsmith Requiem, send them along with Edge Imp Chain from my hand to get even more plays, because it just says a monster equipped with a card and a Fiend monster card.
Yeah.
So this is mandatory. Don't let anyone else tell you different if you're running a Fiendsmith engine. And
there he is.
Thunder Dragon Colossus.
Glad he's back.
Oh, he is back with a vengeance. Fresh off the ban list. I summoned him close to 6 times in my regional qualifier, if not 7. And he was just the last bit of push to where my opponent would say, I'm not even trying to fight through this. Let's just go to the next game.
Yeah.
So with
They
my...
knew.
Oh, they knew, and they chose not to mess around and find out.
Yeah.
So with the XYZs, Beatrice and then King Caesar. So Beatrice was the most important because whether it's the barrier statue, the Diabelle's line, or getting the Fiendsmith engine up and running, she was absolutely instrumental. I loved having you in my deck, Beatrice, but you're not surviving come August.
Yeah.
So King Caesar, I summoned him several different times in the regional qualifier, and it was just felt by my opponent every single time.
Yeah.
Highly underrated and underappreciated, but I'm still keeping him in my deck. He's just a threat that needs to be there.
Yeah.
As far as the links, the Fiendsmith line, obviously the 1 sequence. What I would constantly do with this is I would make sure if I started with the Fiendsmith line, I'd have this out there, then a normal Gazelle, and if they said you're good, then that was their downfall, because then I would add Chimera Fusion, activate the effect of Fuse from the grave, Valor, Chimera Fusion, this, and Gazelle.
Oh man, that's a wrap. That's really good.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Dang, I didn't even think about that.
It's a wrap. Fiendsmith Requiem. So I was praying that they asked this, and they always did.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just so good. Lori, Gold, Magnum Reliever. It did not matter. This came out, and it was always so good. Then I went with the generic,
Obviously.
best generic lake monster in the game.
Yeah.
It came up a few times, but I've also
A little bit of cleanup, kind of a cleanup card.
Absolutely, but not even so much that. But if for the barrier statue play, if I didn't have it, just like Tenpai banished his shifter to do it again, I would banish my own barrier statue, put the fusion Burphamat in the grave, and I'd do it to my opponent on their turn.
Nice.
And then Appaloosa.
Yep.
So Friday I was using the level 9 fusion Fiendsmith, but because I was afraid of talents.
Yeah.
But I figured, you know what, it's not worth it considering the fact that a 3-material Appaloosa is not to be underestimated, ever. If they talent you, they have it. This is just, sometimes this is good enough just to have people scoop on their own.
Yeah, yeah. All right, what's that side deck looking like, boss man?
So I was crazy and did what people were not, what everyone was doing. I chose to be a Maverick and just go with Droll in the side. Because with the main deck, I did not have hand traps. And Droll, I feel, is better with the, at minimum 12 hand trap line.
Yeah.
But this came up several times. I was feeling the flow, getting my game on, believing in the heart of the cards, and Droll came into my hand every time I needed it to.
Yeah, nice.
Now, I went with a package of Archfiend Eris and Simul Archfiends.
Mm-hmm.
So Archfiend Eris, whether it's Burphamet or Beatrice, this was going to get sent to the graveyard, and then I'd search this and I would be able to stop my opponent whenever I needed to. But unfortunately, it just really never came up. This was not as good against Tenpai as I thought it was, because by the time that they synchro over the first time, it's the level 7. You're either dead or they're going to have what they need to bring out the other mini bodies to kill you. But Snake Eye Fiendsmith, Yubel, didn't matter. Yeah. This would cook any other deck except Tenpai.
That's what's up.
Now, King Tiger Wango. So he was obviously in the side deck for the Yubel matchup, but also he came up in my second round of my LCQ, didn't win, lost in the finals, Snake Eye Fiendsmith, losing die rolls out here. But I played against Ice Barrier Sprite, and game 3 I summoned this against him and I said, I'm sorry. And then he realized everything is less than 1400. There was no body he could get on the board. This would have cooked Yubel had I ever played against it.
Yeah.
And then, because I absolutely cannot stay in back row, I went with Cosmic. This came up the most against Tenpai because I was smart enough to read my Yu-Gi-Oh cards and realized that the field spell, I use it, great. If not, with Diabels, I'm just going to get rid of it, and if you got another one, you got another one.
Yeah.
Having just the quick play aspect to it, 1,000 life points, it's nothing. Try not to where it becomes a time issue. And then my board breakers, if I was forced to go second. Lightning Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster, I missed it on Friday, so I decided to put it back in. Never came up, but I had several opportunities where it would have it had I simply drew it. And then one of the best board breakers that you might have seen on stream against a certain, Team 6 Samurai player.
Yeah.
This was just, I could not be scared of any board. This would help get me through everything because I didn't care about losing the battle phase, because then I'd just go off with the Chimera Fiendsmith deck just like it was main phase 1 all over again.
That's what's up. Well, Mr. Charles, we appreciate the deck profile. Is there anything you want to say before we close?
This was my second Nats. It was by far the most fun tournament I've ever been to. The amount of friends I've made, Yu-Gi-Oh gets a lot of smack about it, but the community, you meet the right people, you get, make the right friendships. You get friends for life out of this game. The amount of knowledge I've taken away from this game and learned and become a better player in person, I have Yu-Gi-Oh to thank for that, and always stay loyal to the game.
Absolutely, boss man. We love to hear it. Well, this is Whitehorse signing out, guys. Peace.